Hey, I'm Adam Orth. Welcome to the Game Maker's Notebook. Today I'm speaking with game industry legend, icon, personal hero, and creator of Tetris, Alexey Pajitnov. In this episode, we're going to discuss his first experiences with computing in 1971, the origins and initial development of Tetris, the important realization that Tetris had to be real-time, and how he arrived at the iconic stacking puzzle mechanic we all know and love, early designs that didn't end up in the game, the reaction from colleagues playing Tetris for the first time in early playtests, the Tetris effect, the challenges of being creative under the shadow of Tetris and his own high standards, and of course, the future of Tetris. Hope you enjoy.
This is Mr. Alexey Pajitnov.
Play Tetris.
I still play with my box of pentaminas, and I'm wondering why nobody play against each other. I just start programming it.
Up until that point, I thought we had all the rights.
Turned out he didn't have the rights. I said, Gilman, we made a deal. You can't just walk away and say that, sorry, there was no deal. We have a deal. With a tourist visa, 2 days later, I got on a plane, went to Moscow. I'm not coming back till I have these rights.
There's some kind of an addictive loop.
I'm really hooked on this game.
You want to keep clearing lines.
Harmonically, everything comes together.
I believe that Tetris will be here forever.
Tetris is the perfect game.
Hey, Alexey, welcome to the Game Maker's Notebook.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
It's a true honor to have you here today. One of the pioneers of our industry, and the creator of arguably the greatest video game of all time, Tetris. Everyone knows Tetris. Everyone has played Tetris. Tetris is life. Your creation has made such a huge impact on not only the world of video games, but also general culture of the world as well. Many firsts have taken place with Tetris, and it has truly kind of been a huge part of and changed the course of popular culture. Tetris is generally recognized by endless institutions and publications as one of the greatest games of all time. Agreed. It's won countless awards, sold upwards of 500 million copies across all the platforms, making it one of the best-selling games ever. It's part of the permanent collection in MoMA, New York City. And how could we forget the Tetris Chicken McNugget? Thank you for being here today and talking with us. I know a lot of our listeners are going to be really excited to hear from you. And in my research for this podcast, which has been weeks, I have turned over pretty much every corner of your life and Tetris, and we don't even have enough time to do all the stuff that I have. But I wanted to first start and talk to you a little bit about your childhood and where creativity and computers first started interesting you, like how this drive to go and eventually study computer programming started for you.
Well, I was 16 in 71, I believe. So that was a very early time for computers. But that was the first time when I met computer. We had a special summer practice the computer center of some of some small research institute in Moscow, and it was the mainframe computer called the Razdan 3. Was very big device, and it has uh, almost 8 kilobyte of memory. That was unbelievably huge memory at that time. I'm not sure I could send the message uh, with this amount of memory now. It's much better
Yeah.
these days, I think. So it didn't have any computer language besides its own code. So we start to program not even in assembler but in the code itself. And I was successful with my first programs. It was a program which kind of calculate Fibonacci numbers and even more pretentious mathematical tasks. I don't remember exactly which one. But after this practice, I have the document certifying that I am the programmist of the third degree or something like that in Soviet language. So I was very proud of this small certificate and kept it for a number of years.
Is that around the same time when you kind of discovered the Pentomino book?
Uh, no, I think my big passion for puzzles came a little bit later when I was a student of my high school, of my aviation institute, the technical university which I graduated. I was interested in puzzles, and I was very fascinated all the time when I meeting the new riddle or new puzzle, but I wasn't too much involved in reading special books or so. It came a little bit later when I
So,
was already 20, 21
oh, I
at
see. I
that
see.
age.
So how did your interest in puzzles start manifesting itself? Sounds like maybe on the side when you were doing your actual
Well,
work.
my specialty was mathematics, applied mathematics, and we have very serious courses in mathematics, and I was very fascinated with the science. So I start reading and buying all the mathematical books non-stop and try to read and understand it as much as possible. So the task, mathematical tasks, is always kind of puzzle. It always kind of challenging mental exercise, no matter what you study. So I was more or less okay with them. I was not the best in the class or something like that, but I really love to do this, and naturally I start to to buy some books in riddles and puzzles as well. So it was part of my book collection. And the books of Polymina was one of my kind of favorite book. I read it a lot.
Were you making were you trying to attempt to make and program other games before you started kind of like the origin of Tetris?
Yes, I did. So basically, at some moment, it was already when I start kind of professionally work on computer in computer center of Academy of Science. There, I saw the first game, kind of the text version of Moon Landing. I do remember that I tried to repeat it on my very small kind of computer. I don't remember whether I succeeded or not, but that was the game I did work on before. And also I invented another puzzle, and that was my first successful game, which I was very proud of that time. It was published later in Microsoft Entertainment Pack called Model Casino.
Yes.
That was the game which I came up first. It was absolutely original game, and I I kind of designed it, and I made a paper board puzzle out of it, sent it in the magazine, and it was published. And later, I put together the program which kind of make this game running. And I forgot it for a while because the game seems to be too complicated for anyone who has no mathematical background. Later on, my team took this game, simplified it a little bit, decorated in a kind of casino costume, and we published it in a Microsoft Entertainment Pack. That was historically my first game.
Did the difficulty of playing Model Casino lead to the kind of globally simplistic mechanics and understanding that we all know and love in Tetris?
Well, the rules of model casinos are pretty much self-explaining. It's not very hard to understand how to play the game. But the manipulation of the game, the elementary manipulation with the object of the game, are rather complicated. You need to understand how to block. There are several objects you need to move back and forth, up and down together into different groups. And the main clue of this puzzle is to understand how to block the target object with the other objects, and this is a little bit kind of challenging. So basically, I love this game. I played it a lot, but unfortunately, I don't have too much. I did meet too much fun of this game.
Did that lead to you thinking about Tetris? Like, was there? Did you ever say, "Oh, I want the next thing to be more universal and simple for everyone to play"?
No, I can't say that I think about it. Usually, well, my first priority for some reason, I don't know why, was always the originality of the idea, something which people didn't see yet. So there are a lot of board game and lots of good ideas how to play the game, but computer provides you kind of numbers opportunity to explore new ideas and new concepts. And that was my main priority and fascination. So at some moment, I kind of played a little bit at home with my Domino set. And at some moment, I think it would be a good idea to try to make just two-player game, board game, with this set of pieces, because it's so good set of pieces, so so big sources of different puzzles and stuff. So basically, I thought that would be it might be a very cool idea to have two-player play with the help of computer, or in some game based on pentamina set. And it's immediately kind of generate lots of very interesting, challenging as a programmer, as a designer, as a everything. So I start to I decide that I need to try it, to explore it somehow. So I came to my computer and start to put together several procedures for this game. In order to manipulate with the pieces, I need to generate it. I need to somehow display it on my monitor. I need to be able to move it left or right, up and down, and rotate them and whatever. So and for everything what I just put the list of, I need to put some routine, some procedure in the code for the program. So when I did it, I kind of, the object was very good because it was just the figure made out of 4 squares. So in my monitor, I didn't have any graphics, so I use ASCII symbol kind of in the lines
brackets.
on the monitor to use. So but for square object, it's easier to reproduce. So I wrote the code for displaying them. I wrote the code how to move them on the screen, to place it at certain place. And when I wrote the procedure how to rotate it 90 degree, it was I was very fascinated how it works. You push the button and it's immediately take the new position. And it was kind of really good real-time kind of procedure to watch. It sounds very naive these days.
I mean, when you
But in '84 when I did it, it was really something which kind of inspired me to think about this game, some game out of this kind of pieces as a real time game. That was the very first aha for me. So
yeah,
I decided that why don't I just try to manipulate these pieces in real time.
so
So
when
that
you
was the very first aha for Tetris to be born. So basically, again, I try to explain you why I didn't think about Tetris, about the game or whatever. I had totally different priority when I came with this game.
so
So I knew that for real time game, kind of five square pieces pentominoes are little bit complicated objects. I've been there at 12. It's really hard to remember them. So I decide to downsize it. And four square pieces are much more kind of comfortable to play. So there are just 5 of them if you allow to flip them. But flipping is an extra iteration, extra button to push. So I decide that it's better to maybe to have both symmetrical form for 2 pieces, J and S. And 7 pieces is okay, but I don't need to flip the pieces, and that was a good idea because 7 is a magic number, as you know.
yeah.
So
So
very
going down,
popular in many puzzles, and the human memory is very good operating with 7 objects. That's rather convenient. So so basically the idea. Well, we have the natural scroll of the lines on our monitor. So basically, the movement from up to down was kind of natural in my system. So I immediately decided that I need to fill up the playing field with the pieces appearing on the top and going down. Well, I tried several sizes of the playing field, and the big size was too annoying to fill up. So I make it rather narrow. So I think that well, 10 is a good number. So I immediately took the width of the playing field as a 10. And it worked somehow. I liked it, but the problem was that the game lasts just kind of 30-40 seconds. Then all this field was filled up with the ugly holes and covers and whatever. So I thought what to do, how to prolong this game and make it more playable. I had two options. One option is to use the scroll and have really deep well for the game. We have several Tetris versions which uses this concept as well, but somehow I didn't like it because from the some kind of intuition told me that that people don't like to store something, and they will be really upset when they discover that they have very deep stuff and need to remember what is outside of the screen. So I didn't like this idea very much, and then I noticed that if I succeed with the line, with the horizontal line of the pieces, so if I fill it up, it's kind of useless on the screen. It's already dead. You can't do anything with that, and that's an obstacle to reach the other free spaces on the bottom of the field. So the idea to take them away and clean up and squeeze the rest was the real aha for Tetris. So that was the moment when really Tetris was born.
Yeah,
Well,
it's pretty interesting because you can see all these little decisions when you're listening to your talk about this this process of kind of working through design. You can see like every little discovery opened a waterfall of new things, like, you know, going from 5 to 4. You know, I'm sure when you figured out the rotating, that was
yes,
like a big moment because it
the
it
big
opened up the
moment was
possibility.
real time instead of board to a turn-based game. That was that
Yeah,
that
I
was
mean,
huge.
I'm sure over the years, you've probably talked endlessly about the simplicity of the design of the game. It's actually quite deep, um, and I just wonder, like, how you feel looking back now. Like, was there a moment when you're kind of going through and making this where you just kind of sat back and said, I think this is it. I can maybe show this to someone now or let someone else play it and see what they feel like. What was that like, kind of putting all these, no pun intended, pieces together and then showing someone what you've been working on?
Well, basically, I do remember my feeling about this time. When this collapsing, the line stuff was invented, that was a very big aha moment for me. And when I put it in the code and it start working, I I can't stop playing myself. It was something incredibly addictive for me for this activity. So I sit for hours and play without any score, without any kind of decoration on the screen. It was just a very simple kind of matrix which I put the pieces on. And basically, I I really feel this magic of this kind of activity. And basically, I at this moment I realized that I have a very, very good game in my hands. Well, I never imagined that it will be that great. the, the world, but I realized that it's very competitive with the other games, and more important, that give a very big pleasure for myself at least, and for maybe other people who also like what I like,
Did you experience?
to play this game, and that kind of make me certain that assures me that I need to continue with this game and kind of finish it and make it happen. That's the first time. And then it gives me a very big kind of, I was really scared to spoil it. So every small decision which I need to take, how to arrange the score, how arrange the leveling, how to arrange the debut of the game and whatever. So those decisions was really, really hard for me to take. Because, my original game has a rather complicated score, which kind of increase with the leveling, the 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 reward from the score depend on the level you play, and that was kind of really hard to calculate the technical ability, how to increase the speed of the game, how to manage this delay. I did tune it for maybe a week or so. I was very my main motivation at this point was the fear to spoil the game. That was my main motivation for most of the design. I had basically, and finally I do pretty good job with it. My first version was rather simple. It started with the very, very simple level, very, very slow game, and people very easy to realize how to work. But at the same time, it remained challenging because the pieces keep falling, and you need to do something with them. You really feel this necessity. I have the prediction of the next piece. The next piece was done an auction, which kind of you could buy for some score rating. So you could have this prediction, but your score rating was a little bit less than. You pay five points for each piece which appear, which shows you in advance. Was okay solution, not very great, but at least it worked.
It definitely worked.
Yes, and then I saw the other game, and it was usually the score and the bonus for the very good moves. So that's what I did do. I was very scared to overcomplicate the rule. And I had just score. Later on, for video games, Hank added the bonus. It was okay. The player was already experienced to understand how it works. But in my case, I was really scared to put any bonuses in any kind of other event in the game. So that was kind of the weak point of my game.
Well, it's an interesting point, because you talked about just a little bit back here about the decisions that you're making while you're coming up with each new mechanic and how they relate to each other, and also how you don't want to, ruin the game by complicating it. And that's a very common problem that that many game designers have. It's the ability to cut out, to see what doesn't belong and remove it in order to pair your game and your mechanic system and the interactivities down to the simplest thing that feels the best and kind of expresses the vision of what you're doing. Were there things that you tried early on that didn't work and you said, you know what, this doesn't belong. I can't see this in the vision for the game?
Well, basically, yes. There was couple options which I really tried, but never put in the final version. First one was the debut of the game, so after I become very good at the game, I feel a little bit annoyed to start with empty field every time. So I decide to put some kind of random garbage on the bottom of the screen to start with.
Mm.
And I decided not to do this after I tried it several times. It was very easy to code, to program this stuff. So I tried it. I like it for myself personally because it was a little bit more challenge and at least set up some kind of certain cool mood for the game. But for new customer, for new player, it looked a little bit ugly. You have just a field with some kind of bad, ugly garbage on the bottom of it. So I decided that I'd rather have my game look pretty from the very beginning, and kind of took away this stuff. I could put it as an option to start with, or game option for start, but somehow to kind of make the product heavy with the options, I didn't like either. So basically, I dropped it. Some further version of Tetris have this kind of original garbage on the bottom of the screen. So many people tried it and liked it as I did. So basically, it was a very bad idea, but I kind of took it away from myself. The other idea, I tried the option to have one of the pieces as a blind piece. That was a little bit later. If you remember O piece, the square for small square, you don't need to rotate it because it is the same form where you rotate it. So it was a very good candidate to make it invisible. So I tried the version when this whole piece is invisible. So you play piece, you play another piece. All of a sudden you have the empty screen. But then you realize that it's all piece kind of somewhere in the field. So you need to place it somewhere, and you are in blind mode. Put it somewhere. And then you must remember that there are invisible transparent piece seat in the right corner. So when you place the next piece, you need to take it into consideration. It was very, very fun idea. And the game was very funny, but all the people who played already that time in Tetris hated so much that 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 just ordered me to forget it forever,
Do you remember the first time you showed the game to someone else? Do you remember that?
Yes. Well, that was the period when I just play with my game, with any decoration and stuff, with my very early prototype. So my colleagues around me, look at my screen, and sometimes they ask me to try as well. They realize that that's the game. And first of all, I didn't allow people, but at some point I realized that I needed to show it to me. So my first time colleague tried it and they love it so much. I mean, it was no one person who did get the charm of the game. So that was was my assurance that I have something really precious in my hands.
Yeah, you had no idea how precious it was. Yeah, yeah. So I think the design of Tetris, I know that the design of Tetris is perfect. All the elements from the tetrominoes, falling, rotating, the well, the floor, the walls, all of it. It's beautifully simple, deeply strategic. It's infinitely replayable. Most creators can look at their creations and say, it's not finished. I see the flaws. It could be better. Are you aware? Can you say to yourself, do you know that Tetris is perfect?
At some point, I think it's very perfect. I
Yeah,
mean,
no question.
you could little bit tweak it this way with the scoring, with some kind of stuff. I put statistics on the screen. I was absolutely sure nobody will believe me that the pieces are random. So in order to say that I not purposely kind of keep IPs from the player, I show every time the piece appears, the number of this particular piece increases. So that kind of stuff, you could play with this, but generally with the whole concept, I think it's how to say, on the very small plateau of perfectness of this big mountain. Well,
It's a
you could step a little bit on this square, but it's there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to refute that it's perfect game design, from the vision and just all the work that you put into it. It's obviously Tetris has become, you know, its own thing, and touched many people in the world. I wonder, when there's lots of talk about the Tetris effect, and I wonder, when was did you start seeing that effect early on? Did you start experiencing that when you were building the game?
I barely remember that time in '84 when I did work on the game itself. I don't remember that I had Tetris at that time. But later on, I definitely had it when I need to play a lot for the company to approve the versions, to check the different versions. So basically, it comes with the probably more rich graphics when you have real graphics for the square and stuff, and good animation of the piece rotation, then it works. Then it works for Tetris effect. In my very first version, I have very flickering screen, and I have the pieces appearing immediately on the next position. So I don't remember Tetris effect that time.
It's definitely a huge real thing. I've experienced that myself personally so many times, and obviously, much later on down the line, trying to extend and recreate that with the wonderful Tetris Effect video game, of the last few years, which I also love.
Yeah, good game, very good game. I admire playing it.
Yeah, it's a great celebration and evolution of Tetris. It's really great.
Yes.
Are you aware of how much Tetris has influenced modern video games?
Well, every time people telling me about that, but frankly, I don't see the real connection with the most of the puzzle game, the modern puzzle game with Tetris itself. Well, there are some similarity, of course, but basically, I think that there are lots of very good original ideas there, and those ideas totally different from Tetris, and most of them are more kind of algebraic kind of stuff. You need rather calculate than have a vision of the stuff. So Tetris is a very geometrical game, believe it or not.
No,
So basically, I can't really trace the direct influence of Tetris to the different game. And
well,
unfortunately,
I can
I,
trace it. I have many examples of it. I mean,
okay,
obviously, when you think about the influence of Tetris, um, you immediately start thinking about like blocks and puzzle games, but it's so much more than that. I mean, Tetris has found its way into all kinds of different game genres in modern games. You think about inventory management in bigger games, game like Resident Evil, where you have your inventory of items and you're perfectly moving them around in order to fit and
yeah,
be
yeah,
able to
yeah.
pick up
There
things.
are some of those games, yeah. But most of them are not real time. They you just take piece and turn and try to find a good position for them. There are good games, yes, and basically they generate a very interesting genre of the kind of incredible machine kind of style of game. That's the next development of this stuff when you take different pieces and make it live their own life. That was very cool idea. Unfortunately, basically, I don't know what happened, but most of the modern puzzle game are really, really bad balanced. That's what my problem with them are. Not the absence of original and great idea or concept. There are enough of those. But as soon as you get this concept and start working on it, you need to kind of polish it and polish it and polish it till it's really, 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 really well balanced, balanced out. That's what my big that's what my main disappointment with the modern puzzles are.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's almost impossible to boil something down and be as simple and enjoyable as Tetris. I think a game like Bejeweled,
Yeah,
which
well,
obviously
then
started,
Bejeweled is a very bright example of this stuff. It's
yeah,
absolutely excellent idea. When I saw it, I was practically fall in love. But you need to put your ass down and just make it balanced, make a proper the appropriate score for your successes in the game. For Christ's sake, it's 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 not inventive. It's not kind of genius. It doesn't require anything like that. It's just very routine designer job to do. And it wasn't that. I was so frustrated with the final version of Pichu. I even came up with the game to show them how to do this. I did the game inspired by Bejeweled called Hexic.
great game. Love that
Yeah,
game.
yeah. It's well, I did do a very good job in order to kind of decorate the game the proper way. It's really ugly looking stuff. Unfortunately, it's too simple for its time, and it's not very. But as far as as gameplay is concerned, it's perfectly balanced game, which is very easy to do. You have your main activity, you have your bonus activity, you have your appreciation, and the game is really long, has a relatively long learning curve, good enough, and everything is there. So basically, if they did the same stuff with Bejeweled, it would be really, really great. Yes.
So are there any other games that you feel are like kind of spiritual cousins or relatives or successors to Tetris that you really enjoyed?
Well, Bejeweled. Uh, Breakthrough. Nothing comes to mind immediately, but if you we could say that probably Dr. Mario and those kind of simplification with the stuff. Booyah Booyah is kind of clo- close stuff to Tetris as well. I mean, it's totally different concept, but very close and have the same kind of provoke you the same feeling.
Yeah,
Yes.
one of the only things that we haven't really talked about yet, um, when we're talking about the essential, again, no pun intended, building blocks of Tetris is, of course, the Tetris theme, which is obviously also transcended popular culture with the game as well. Can you talk a little bit about how that all came to be?
Team? What do you mean team?
The Tetris theme, the music of Tetris.
Ah, it doesn't touch me very well. My computer, when I come up with the game, had no sound at all, zero. Just when I ported to PC, I have I could produce some kind of sound of certain frequency. That's it. I didn't have any serious sound at that moment. So the first publishers of the game took the Russian teams for the music, and basically at this point I didn't have any serious. I was totally incompetent in marketing question and how to sell the game. So they think it's a good stuff to sell Tetris with this music. I said, okay, well, basically nothing wrong with this with this melodies are. So, but later on, I kind of like their choice. I like Rabenik very much. I think it's really adds for the kind of spirit of the game. Katyusha is little bit is not that good, and that didn't get very popular. But it was very fascinating that they took Tchaikovsky Nutcracker theme for the Game Boy. That was a very nice decision. I love it.
Yeah, I was familiar with that song before Tetris. I was lucky enough to live in Moscow
Uh,
when I was a young boy,
that's it.
and with my family, and we when I first was introduced to Tetris, which was on the Game Boy, which I want to get to in a second because that's a big moment. Um, one of the Tetris is a very personal game for me. When I had it on the Game Boy, I had just left my family home, and I moved to Los Angeles, and I didn't really know anyone, knew a couple people, and Game Boy and Tetris was like, it saved my life at that time, because whenever I was lonely or bored, I would play Tetris, and it would just completely change my day every time I used it. And it's been a mainstay. I still have the same Game Boy and the same cartridge. for when I first bought it back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's very, very important game to me, but also it's important to everyone else. And, Tetris really emerged in this like really fertile pop culture moment with games and movies and music and technology. It Tetris really became a global intergenerational phenomenon, like Super Mario Brothers, Back to the Future, Michael Jackson's Thriller, and it was such a huge cultural moment, and I think that was really superpowered by the Game Boy. I mean,
Absolutely.
that was
Yes.
such a huge thing.
Yeah. Basically, I think that for my persistence at the very first step of Tetris, I get a really great rewards. Couple great rewards. One of them was kind of success of the Tetris. It was a very big story about the rights. So it really make my game noticeable in the game world. And then the real gift for Tetris was Game Boy. So those two items was born for each other somehow. That's I still feeling that that probably some kind of higher power make this Game Boy. And it's several years before it appearance, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tetris on the Game Boy, I mean, that was as impactful as, the Sony Walkman, like just a huge moment. And it all kind of dovetailed with like the rise of home video gaming, Nintendo's expansion, the blockbuster film era, really the golden age of music with MTV, personal computing, TV, and also more importantly,
the personal computer. It's a direct impact, if you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Many people agree that the initial barrier between between man and PC was mostly ruined with the Tetris game because the very first software like Excel and Word and the other software was too complicated, very hard to learn, very unpardonable for the mistake, and people was really resistant against to start the business of the computer. But Tetris, very simple, very friendly, very engaging game, kind of ruined this barrier tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Tetris being friendly and engaging, it truly is a game for everyone. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how the Soviet Union was changing right at that time, and you were able to bring, almost a bridge between East and West with Tetris, and show that great ideas transcend everywhere, and they can become universal.
Well, I didn't see. I didn't feel any mission in it. I was just concerned about my little game. I wanted to be published and to be published well, and as better I do, as better will be my mission on this world in my career. I did. That time I was after the initial Tetris success, I was very welcome in every kind of Russian new enterprise to make the next Tetris for them,
I bet.
So basically, I decided that Tetris must be published and populated as much as possible, and I put all my efforts in this. I was really concerned at this, and I did start to make the other games. So I was very active working as a game designer at that time. I was kind of the cultural propagandist or whatever, or any kind of public figure from the Soviet Union or collapsed Soviet Union or whatever. I still remaining rather private person, and game designer.
As a game designer and a programmer and a creator, I mean, Tetris is once in a lifetime, once a generational creation. Has it been challenging for you to continue to be
very much challenging? Yes. Basically, most of my best year, I was struggling with the Tetris Glory, which kind of pushed me to do the very best I could with every title I have the idea to put together, and that spoiled my stuff a lot, because if I will if I would be able to lower down a little bit my standards, I will probably put much more games on the market that time. Maybe kind of not that great games, but much more in quantity, Well, but somehow every time with the new concept, I look at it and say, it's very far from my standard, unfortunately. But I'm very proud of whatever I designed so far. I think my games in Pandora's box are really good. It's a little bit ahead of time as everything I did, but still kind of the connoisseur really appreciated that game, and they remember it, and I see very many kind of follow up of my games. It was good concept which I tried to realize to make, and I think I did so. So I can say that I created a new genre of the visual puzzles which I had envisioned. But now we have lots of puzzle kind of in this genre, but they don't identify themselves as a visual games. But I see lots of games similar to my Pandora's box titles as well.
Going back to the explosion of Tetris and the Game Boy, what was it like seeing your creation kind of like cross over to the whole world and kind of become this huge phenomenon at the time?
Well, basically, I don't know. Again, I was rather busy with my new games, Tetris. At the moment when Tetris start to get this popularity, I was busy with the other stuff. Tetris was kind of in my past already. But I do remember my really, really strong feeling in my first visit in Kyoto. I remember when they showed me the warehouse, kind of the miles of the warehouse filled up with the cartoons, with the packed game there. That was something every creator should see once in a lifetime.
Not anymore. All our creations now are all digital.
Yeah.
I think those days of giant
anymore,
warehouses are over.
Maybe. Hold on.
Yeah, maybe. So there have obviously been many different types of Tetris games and new spins on the ideas. I've played them all. I personally I personally still like the best way for me to play Tetris is still on the Game Boy, even though I love playing it tons of other ways and other places. It's just I think it's just the personal connection and
Exactly, yes. So my personal connection, I'm still PC person. I like the keys rather than just kind of buttons, you know.
So we talked about we mentioned Tetris Effect earlier, and I want to get to that. But between the Game Boy and let's say Tetris Effect, what do you think was the most interesting new take on Tetris that you thought to yourself, oh, that's really good. That's really in the spirit of the game, and it makes it better.
Well, I didn't see anything which makes it really better. I think I see the very many interesting game which make the same good as Tetris. I like very much Tetris Battle Guide, and when they try to kind of to switch the player from one mode to the other mode and play it more more diversified way, I would say. That was that was very interesting and fruitful idea. What else? Let me remember. Flashpoint I didn't like too much, but I should admit it was interesting game as well. When they add the small one square piece, and you manipulate it. Sometimes you concentrate your attention on that one. That was interesting stuff as well. Well, I really appreciate it. It's a very fair attempt to do the game, which is good. Well, two player mode is main problem for the game. Unfortunately, Tetris was literally designed as a single game, and I still don't see the very good attempt to make kind of two-player game out of it. I think I know the reason for it, but not too many people agree with me.
I would
I-
love to hear that. What's the reason?
I think that Tetris is very intensive game. It takes all your all your mental ability to succeed in on the high speed. So all your attention, all your concentration, all your intellectual resources there on your play field. Whereas the two-player game, you need to build up the strategy. You need to be able to observe your opponent field, and you literally don't have resource for it because you are very busy. So basically, all two-player games version I I see so far are just two-player playing their own game, and whoever play better wins just because they are better player. It doesn't generate new strategy, new way of doing, and new kind of new gameplay at all.
Yeah, I
And
completely agree with that. I think that you're totally right.
And in order to create this stuff, you need to do very crazy thing. You need to slow down and little bit kind of spoil the game of Tetris to make it slower and eliminate little bit of the pro players' resources to be able to build another strategy. You know? So and nobody of designer are courageous enough to really with your own hand to spoil the game in order to make the better new two-player version. So it didn't happen yet, but I hope at one point that will be happening. So
yeah, hopefully someone
that
can figure that out. But I
that's
will say that when you talk about
but multiplayer are perfect. multiplayer Tetris is very good. I mean, 99 is probably the best game so far.
It's
I
super
really,
fun.
I really enjoy it. It's super fun. It gives you a lot of joy. And somehow you are able to see what's going on the field. At least your peripheral vision say you how good you are, And somehow it's enough. So you put the game onto the fun kind of end of of your entertainment, and that was really really smart and good decision. So probably that's the best achievement that is. So
It's really cool to see Tetris not only influence other games and genres, but then to see Tetris embrace other games and genres. Like, Tetris Battle Royale. That's just like a great idea, and it's really, really super fun. I did want to say just a point about the multiplayer is that I think one of the reasons, why you were discussing why it doesn't really work is like, talking about all of your mental faculties to immerse yourself in Tetris. And when you're playing against or even maybe with someone else, you never have the opportunity to enter that Zen Tetris state because of all the other things that are taking place. And I think that's one of the things that people don't truly appreciate enough about Tetris. And maybe it's because they haven't experienced it. Maybe not everyone experiences the Tetris effect, but I find that to be a very, like, entering that state of kind of enlightenment while you're playing Tetris is like, there's very few games that actually take you beyond the game and into almost another reality. It's very insane.
yeah, maybe.
So talking about the Tetris effect and Tetris effect, obviously one of the really cool things about the technology of today is we have things like VR and AR, and it was very mind-blowing for me first time to experience Tetris in virtual reality. Just absolutely incredible. Like, how do you feel about that?
I did try very early version, and it wasn't that impressive at that time. So recently I did try it in VR, and don't know Tetris in VR yet. So basically, I can't say. I just want to add a little bit to our previous point. The fact that all your resources are in the game are very useful for therapeutic effect of Tetris, if you heard about it.
Yes, I have.
So the Oxford research, psychiatric research shows that it really help with all the dramatic experience of the people. Basically, the main impact of the dramatic event is so-called flashback. You can't forget something awful you've seen in your life. So that is really really good to eliminate those flashbacks.
But it's a true testament to the game and how it kind of actually transcends a game. Honestly.
But trust me, I didn't do my game for that. My goal was pure entertainment. No spy, no destroying the industry of United States. No. Well, I was blamed with many things in my life.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so my goal was always pure fun, with no other extra goals.
So, you've just kind of celebrated the 40th anniversary of Tetris end of last year, and it's such an iconic thing. It's hard to even call it anything other than Tetris because it means so many things. But what do you envision or imagine for the future of Tetris?
Well, basically, it's very strong indication that it will be one of the esports, and I'm looking forward for it. Then, basically, I really hope another social events in the life which kind of will use Tetris. So I really imagined one day to have Times Square screens kind of dedicated with the Tetris game, and somebody will be champion of Times Square on the some some certain date of the year,
That
something
doesn't
like
seem that
that.
impossible to make happen. We should make that happen. That would be great.
The before my previous dream was to see Tetris on the skyscraper, skyscraper,
Yes, skyscraper.
scraper, yeah. So and it happened 3 or 4 times. So people did it. So with the lightning on the office building, it's very possible 20 floor building kind of produce Tetris, and 3 or 4 times I saw it. So it's happened when the conditions are appropriate. So when conditions are appropriate, those posters will be used for Tetris, I'm pretty sure. And I am really, really waiting for the drone show of Tetris. That's for sure.
Well, I hope it's not too long before you get to realize yet another amazing, incredible milestone for Tetris. Alexey, I really want to thank you so much for talking to me today. You're a personal hero of mine, and it's just so great to talk about all this with you. I have probably dozens of pages of notes and questions I could ask you, and I could be here all day. And I know you don't want to be here all day. And it would probably be a pretty boring interview to listen to. But I just want to thank you personally for talking to me, and also for creating such an enduring, important thing for the
Thank you. It
world.
was a good interview. I enjoyed it, and I always enjoy a little bit when you put me in my past and good memories. So thank you very much for good questions as well.
Thank you so much. Real pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.